It's a boy. We're out. My contractions were really strong. I actually look so tired. Hi everyone, welcome to my birth and labour vlog. So unfortunately there is not loads of footage of my actual labour because I just did not find myself in the mood to film any of it. I just completely forgot that I was going to film it, and I just have little clips here and there. So it was very intense. My contractions were really intense. The last thing I could even think about was holding a camera or putting it in the corner. And when we were in the actual labour room, which obviously is where I tried to give birth, the midwife was with us all the time, and it was just like we were just having conversations, and it was just a bit awkward for me to be like, right Josh, can you get my camera out now please? There was not really anywhere to put it. I was having contractions every 5 minutes, so I couldn't really hold the camera. And obviously I thought it would be a bit rude to start talking and filming while the midwife was talking to us. So there's little clips here and there, but basically this is just going to be a breakdown of my full birth and my full labour. So today is D-Day and we are on the way to the hospital. So it's Friday the 31st of July and I am on my way to be induced. It's 3 minutes to 9 and my appointment's at 9, but we are nearly there. So I'm having this little balloon fitted and hopefully I can come home. So I'm just going to literally go into the hospital, have it done, and then I will check back in when I've had it done and just sort of explain what it was like. And hopefully they do let me out, because I'm hoping that I can just go home and chill for a bit. There's no reason for them not to unless I'm already dilated, which I don't think I am, so yeah. So the balloon is in and it's a little bit weird. I've got tubes hanging out of my vagina, which Josh has just kindly told me about. But she said the baby's head is really low down and my cervix is favourable, which means it's a really good sign. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it does work. Just grabbed a Starbucks and we're going to walk round Pugneys now, which is just like a local river park thing. So just obviously keep myself active, keep that cervix, keep pressure on that cervix, and hopefully I will go into labour really soon. It is quite uncomfortable, I can feel it, but it was not that bad at all when I was having it done. The sweep was absolutely fine and the tube going in was fine as well, so I'll just keep you updated across the rest of the day. So just a quick update, it is now 6 PM. and it is so hot. Honestly, what? I feel like I can't even talk. Temperature, it's 29 degrees and it's 6 o'clock and it's really warm, so I just feel really hot, really sweaty. I'm gonna have another shower soon, but I think I might be having contractions. I can't really decide because obviously I've never had them before, but my stomach keeps going really tight and then I get really bad backache and sometimes in the front of my stomach. I just can't really decide, so I'm just going to give it like a few more hours. And obviously if they get more and more intense, then I know that's what it is. So it is really weird having this balloon in because I've literally got plastic tubes like running up the front of my pants. And every time I go to the toilet, I've got to like lift them back up to put like my knickers on. And it did make me bleed slightly, so when we got home from our walk there was quite a lot of blood. Wow, that was the wind. But because obviously she's put something inside me, she just said it probably is just like a bit of trauma blood, and it wasn't bright red, so apparently that's a good sign. So obviously every time I go to the toilet now, I'm just kind of checking if there's any fresh blood. So it's a little bit weird. I'm kind of hoping that I do go into labour before I can go to bed, because I just can't imagine getting up for a wee in the night with all these tubes hanging out of me. But we're going to go on a walk now and obviously just see if things move a bit more. And I'll just keep you updated. So obviously I had the balloon fitted at 9 AM on Friday, and then my contractions started really thick and fast by really late Friday night. But I kept ringing the midwives and on the birth suite, and they just kept telling me that unless the balloon's fallen out, I'm not in labour. So we literally just laboured at home. I was in absolute agony, I'm not going to lie. It was all in my back. Casper was back to back, and it was just hard work. So every 5 minutes I was having a really bad contraction, and I didn't get any sleep. Josh got no sleep. I didn't eat. I felt sick. I tried getting in the bath. I tried sitting on the toilet. I was on the birthing ball. I was in the bed. I had heat packs on my back. I had Josh's knee rammed into my back. I had his hands rammed into my back. And it got to 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I just said to Josh, I need to go to hospital. I don't like being at home. I feel very on edge because I'm in that much pain. I could still breathe through it. It wasn't like life-changing, but it was very painful, I'm not going to lie. And I just did not want to stay at home. So we went to the hospital at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And that is where I then discovered that I was already 4 centimetres dilated. So it's now Saturday morning at 7:15, and I am actually in agony. I have had the worst all-nighter of my entire life. I've been contracting since 4 p.m. yesterday, and they've been regular for the last 5 hours, but they told me that I can't go in until the balloon drops out. The balloon hasn't dropped out, but I just can't stand it anymore. I don't even know what I'm going to say. I was going to say something and I've forgotten. So I got in the bath at about 2 a.m. and it did nothing. I've been on my ball, I've laid on my side, I've been on my ball, I've bent over the bed. I'm bleeding loads, I've got loads of bloody show. But this balloon will not come out, and if I get to this hospital now and they tell me that I'm only 2 centimetres, I'm actually gonna be so confused as to why I'm in so much pain, because it's just not. So once I arrived, obviously I figured out I was 4 centimetres dilated, and then they took me straight to the labour ward where I obviously started my proper labour. So I asked them if I could have a water birth, and she just said there probably isn't much chance of it unless my waters go and I start dilating a lot quicker naturally. So I kind of had hope in my head, but I kind of decided that it probably wasn't going to happen. The room wasn't bad anyway, like I didn't feel like it was really like hospital-y. It did feel quite nice, and Josh was like, oh, this room is lovely, so obviously that made me feel a bit better. So from like, I think it was probably like 8 a.m. I was in there, and I was 4 centimetres for ages, and I was on gas and air for my contractions. It was nice and relaxed. I felt so much better being in the hospital. I literally can't even tell you how relieved I felt, and I just felt like I was in the right place. And the hypnobirthing that I've been doing, she does say that obviously you'll need to labour at home for as long as you can. But I just got to a point where I felt a lot better being being in the hospital than at home, just because of the pain. So I was on a bit of gas and air, and then I had these things called sterile water injections, which is literally just sterile water, and it reacts against obviously the water in our body. And the midwives did them together, so there was 4, and they did 2 at once each. And they said, oh, it'll feel like a bee sting. Oh my god, it was horrendous. It was the most painful 10 seconds I've ever experienced in my life. Like literally worse than trying to push a baby out. It was awful, but it only lasted 10 seconds. So that numbed my back for about half an hour, but because he was back to back, it didn't work very well. And my midwife said to me, if he is back to back, then unfortunately there's not that much you can do. So I didn't have them again because I thought, I'm not going through that awful 10 seconds, because you can have as many of those as you like, but I thought I'm not having them again when they haven't really worked that well. They only lasted about half an hour. So I was just still on the gas and air, I was still breathing through all my contractions, and my contractions started to slow down. So the midwife broke my waters, and I am not joking, there was water everywhere. It was like a tsunami. I have never seen so much water in all of my life. it just kept coming and coming, and everyone that said to me like, oh, when you have your waters broken it'll just be a really big gush. I think I had about 3 really big gushes. It just went everywhere. My poor midwife was literally on the floor mopping it up with loads of towels, and then it'd go again, and I just could not believe how much water there was, but I could literally just see my bump gradually going down. It was really weird actually, and it did take a bit of pressure off my back, obviously because he was back to back and then I had all that water as well. So from then my contractions still stayed the same. So I was having contractions like every 10 minutes. So they'd obviously slowed down quite a bit, and my midwife then said she wanted to put me on the drip, which again, I should have really used my brain and just said, can I have another hour? But I just think when you're actually in labour, you just want it to be over and done with as quickly as possible. So I accepted the hormone drip, and I also asked for diamorphine at the same time because I obviously knew that my contractions were going to then start to ramp up, and I just wanted to be as relaxed as possible. So I then went from 4 centimetres to 10 centimetres in 2 hours. The diamorphine had fully kicked in, and along with the gas and air, I felt really high, and towards the end of me getting to 10 centimetres, I didn't actually like how I felt. I felt really sick, I felt really drunk, and I just kept falling asleep. I'd even fall asleep during a contraction. I'd have a contraction and I'd start on the gas and air, and then I'd literally would be asleep, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, that was weird. So I've promised myself I won't have diamorphine again, even though it massively helped. I didn't like the way I felt after like 1 or 2 hours on it. I just felt, you know, when you're like really drunk and you kind of know that you are and you don't want to be anymore. That is how I felt, and I just couldn't keep my eyes open. It was really strange. So anyway, I kept saying to the midwife that I needed to push. I just had this sensation that I needed to push. She was absolutely not convinced. Anyway, she checked me and she was like, oh my God, Sophie, you are 10 centimetres. Like, that's 2 hours. You've gone from 4 to 10 in 2 hours. So we started the pushing phase, which again, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't nice. I was literally pushing, thinking, how on earth do you actually push a baby out? But then obviously things didn't go to plan, and he was not coming out. Obviously he was back to back as well. So there was talks of having a forceps delivery, which at the time it just did not bother me. I just wanted to get this baby out. Obviously we did not know what we were having either, so it was still like not he or she. The doctor came, examined me, said, this baby's got loads of hair. And I was like, oh, that's strange. I've been told that, but I just couldn't imagine like what it was like, or obviously I didn't know the sex of the baby or anything. So it was talks of forceps delivery. The baby's heart rate was dropping, so they wanted to get me down to theatre. So I got put down to theatre. I had a cannula obviously in my arm from the drip, and when I was pushing, I ragged it out, and because I was squeezing Josh's hand, blood just went everywhere. It squirted all over him, all over the pillow, all over the bed. So then they were trying to put a cannula in this arm, because obviously they needed to get one in for when I was going down to theatre. And it was just a nightmare. I had one hand here getting sorted out and one hand here getting sorted out, and I was having contractions. Josh had the gas and air in my mouth, and it was just an awful sensation. I just felt like I couldn't do anything because obviously my hands were like up here. So got taken down to theatre, which again, it wasn't very nice, I'm not gonna lie. I had contractions, and when you have contractions at 10 centimetres, your body wants to push. It is uncontrollable. Everyone said to me, you'll just want to push, and I can't even explain it. It's like an out of body experience. You literally just want to push. So I think I had about 4 contractions on the way down to theatre, and obviously all I wanted to do was push, but I knew it wasn't going to do anything, but I could not control my body from pushing. So my midwife was like, just push, Sophie, it's fine. I was like, it's not fine, it's awful, because I could not feel this baby coming anyway. So I got down to theatre, got the spinal block in. All the doctors were really lovely, and the midwife tried to forceps me, and unfortunately she said she could not feel the baby. So my cervix had literally, it was 10 centimetres, but it like moved back up, so the baby would not have come out anyway, which I didn't even know that could happen. But at that point, obviously I couldn't feel my legs, I was numb. I was glad I wasn't having these awful contractions where I needed to push anymore. And it turns out that the pushing phase for me was so awful because he was not coming. So I was pushing and pushing for the life in me and nothing was happening. Whereas everyone said to me, if he was coming down the birth canal, you would have felt it. You would have felt yourself actually physically pushing a baby out. But because that didn't happen for me, I was just pushing, thinking, how on earth does this even work? So then obviously I got told I'd be having a C-section, and it just went from there really. Josh wasn't in the room at this point, so when he came in, he thought we were having a forceps delivery, and they started putting all the like curtains up above my stomach, and Josh was like, oh, I didn't know they did that for forceps. I was like, oh, I'm having a C-section, didn't you know? He was like, no, I had no idea. So he obviously learnt that from me, and it just went, it was quite a nice atmosphere. Like, it was really bright in there, but again, at the diamorphine, the spinal block and the gas and air, I was fully knocked out. I could not keep my eyes open. I kept saying to Josh, like, please help me stay awake. I kept tapping him, I kept squeezing him. There was a light above my eyes and I kept going like that to try and like keep myself awake, but I just decided that I couldn't, so I just slept and I just shut my eyes and thought, if I fall asleep, I fall asleep. It is what it is. I could not feel anything, and I didn't even know when they pulled him out because obviously I was asleep and he didn't cry. So I just got a tap on the shoulder from Josh and pointed to this baby in the corner and was like, it's a boy, it's a boy. And they took him away because he wasn't breathing and he only had 50% oxygen levels, and they like babies to be at 95%. So it was just that awful minute of waiting to hear a cry. I was like, Josh, I can't hear the baby crying. And he was like, it's fine, Sophie, it's fine. I was like, I can't hear the baby crying. It was just awful. It was the longest minute of my life. And then I think I heard what was a cry, and then they invited Josh to go into the room and cut the cord. So he was in there for ages, and I just went back to sleep. I just thought, I can't keep my eyes open. I don't even know what this baby looks like. I still don't really know if it's a boy. I've just been told it is a boy. And then they brought him in, and he was wrapped in a big towel and had his big hat on, and Josh showed me all his hair. So took off his hat and showed me his beautiful hair. So I'm just going to wake him up because he's been asleep for ages. Because you like your sleepies, don't you, little boy? So this was my little man with all his hair. His spiky hair, spiky blonde hair. But when he was born, it was really, really yellow because obviously it was covered in gunk and things like that. So I was like, oh, it's a bit bleached. It looked like someone had bleached his hair like orange. But now it's all washed out, it's absolutely fine. So then they took him away again because I was falling asleep, and obviously they didn't want him near me when I was falling asleep. It was just a really weird sensation. I could not keep my eyes open. I just had this baby and I couldn't even stay awake for him. And we had a few names in mind, but I think when Josh saw what I'd gone through and knew my favourite name, when he brought him in, he just said, are we calling him Casper? And I think his hair as well, I was just like, yes, he looks like a Casper. Don't you, little man? So then I got taken into the recovery room, which is where they keep you for about half an hour. They have to test your temperature a few times, your blood pressure, obviously check that you're not reacting to the surgery. And that's when I did my first breastfeed. So the midwife put him on to me and he latched straight away, which was amazing because apparently it's not very common, especially in C-section babies, because it was about an hour after he'd been born. And then we got taken to the labour ward, back into the room, and here is some footage from there. It's a boy. So guys, I know there's not much involved in this video, but honestly, when I came into the hospital, things just was 100 miles an hour. I couldn't even think about getting my camera out. My contractions were really strong. I actually look so tired. I am knackered. I had diamorphine, which just made me feel high, and then gas and air. So I couldn't even think about getting my camera out, and then I ended up having an emergency C-section because Baby just did not want to come out, even though I went from 3 centimetres to 10 centimetres dilated in like 2 or 3 hours. But I am fine, baby's fine, and daddy's fine.
We're all fine.
So we had a little boy. Obviously it was a surprise. He is a little boy, a little cherub, and we have decided to call him Casper George Taylor. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably know that already because this vlog won't be going live for a while. I'm sorry it's a bit of a shitty, boring, short vlog, but I will be doing a full labour story in another video. Also, he has so much hair, it's actually amazing.
That's it.
And he's so chilled. Once we'd had him, obviously been on the labour ward, Josh left at about 9:15, and then I got taken down to the ward. And obviously because it was late at night, it was quite nice because I knew that I could just sleep. He was fast asleep and I slept quite a bit. It was really hot there and all the other babies on the ward were crying and he was not crying. But every time a baby cried, I'd get up and check if it was him, and it wasn't, was it? So we stayed in for another 24 hours. I didn't leave till about 5:30 on Sunday evening, and we just had the day in the hospital with the midwives checking his latch and just waiting for like results. Obviously they have to test the baby's eyesight, test the baby's hearing, things like that. So all in all, obviously my labour was amazing because I had this beautiful baby boy, but it was not how I imagined it whatsoever. But I literally would not change a thing. So I hope you've enjoyed this footage. Sorry it might be short and sweet. I haven't obviously edited yet, but I've got a feeling it could be quite short and sweet, but that is the reality now of being a mum. Casper is 10 days old and it's just trying to learn to juggle life, get in the shower. I've washed my hair this morning, which is a miracle. He luckily slept the whole time. Then obviously feeding, cleaning the house, like it's just a massive juggle and just learning to do everything every single day. And you need feeding now, don't you, little buddy? You do. So thank you so much for watching my labour/birthing vlog and meeting my beautiful Casper George, who is very hungry and he's got his mouth open. And please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. My next video is going to be recovering from a C-section because there is a lot to talk about when it comes to a C-section. So anyone that's watching this wondering how I felt after the C-section, it is coming in the next video. This was literally just my birth and labour vlog. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.